man in the garden? What did he do? Tempted. Okay. How did he tempt him?
Did he say, like, you can be like God?
No, that's not how he tempted him. With wisdom. Augustine said the wisdom of the serpent, right? Let me show you something. My St. Monica people are going to roll their eyes. I've said this 1,000 times. So it's fine. But we're in Genesis 2. Okay? And when God speaks to Adam, he tells him in verse 17, of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you should not eat of it. For in the day that you eat of it, you will die. Okay? He says, don't eat of the tree. Everybody with me? Okay. Now, Genesis 3. Oh, you don't want me to scream? I like screaming. It's fun.
Just in case on the whispering here.
I gotta sign stuff before this. You know that. Come on. I'm kidding.
We'll have the papers next time, won't it?
Next time? Okay. All right. What happens in Genesis 3? Look at what Eve does. Okay? The woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the tree of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree, which is in the midst of the garden, God said, you should not eat of it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die. What did Eve do? What did Eve do?
Both.
What do you mean both? What did Eve do in this situation? God tells Adam one thing. And how does Eve, Exactly. Eve is like, well, you can't eat of the tree. And you can't touch it. But God said, don't eat of it. What? So the devil finds what? He finds a loophole. The wisdom of man. We were fooled by the wisdom of the serpent. The devil thinks like us. What are we looking for? Exceptions. What are we looking for? Nuance. What are we looking for? Gray. So then he says, bro, you ain't going to die. For God does know in that day that you eat, that your eyes will be open, and you will be as gods knowing good and evil. It's like, no, you won't die. Don't believe this God of yours. He's full of it. And then 6, when the woman saw the tree was good for food, and saw it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit and did eat. Took of the fruit. So because the devil found a crevice in her logic, because she wasn't in tune with God, what happens? She touches the tree. Okay? All right, let's play a game. If you put my cross in your mouth, you will die. Okay? It's gross. Catch. Run. I threw it in the air in the middle and see what happened. Okay, so you have my cross. So, if you believe that putting it in your mouth will kill you, which I told you, should you touch it?
No.
Okay, but you did.
It's not my mouth.
It's not in your mouth, it's true. However, if it touches one part of you, why wouldn't it hurt another part of you?
That's not what God said.
Mm-hmm. See the catch here? Give it back. I'm not keeping it.
This is why I'm not a lawyer.
Maybe multiple reasons. Anyway, what ends up happening here, I promise I'm a nice priest. Anyway, what happens here is the devil uses the wisdom of man. That man looks for nuance and loophole to get what he wants. Okay? And so the devil knows that. And the devil worked in that gap to deceive Eve. And when she had the confidence to touch it, she then had the confidence to eat it. Well, I didn't die. And I thought that me touching it was going to mean my death. But now, me touching and eating shouldn't be that big of a deal. I took step 1 and nothing happened. The wisdom of the serpent that deceives us is that the incremental step of sin will not destroy us. That the incremental step of sin will not destroy us. That the first time you watch porn, it won't be a problem. The first time you get into an unhealthy relationship, it won't be a problem. The first time that you drink, it won't be a problem. The first time that you engage in unhealthy behavior with friends, it won't be a problem. You can manage it because you're not addicted. You would never be addicted. But you know what we do? We operate in extremes. It's all about the most unhealthy version of us or the healthiest version of us. Not realizing that the devil's wisdom is in the margins. It's in the spectrum. And what he does is the spectrum, when you know what's right and when you know what's wrong, the spectrum is a flat plane with balance. But as you start to move on that scale and test limits because of the wisdom of the serpent, you actually shift the weight and you inevitably slide in the wrong direction. Everyone is telling us not to sin. This is great. Thanks a lot. We know that. Yeah, sure, not to sin. But I'm trying to get to a bigger point. The bigger point that I'm trying to get to is for you to understand that, listen, none of us are perfect, and you're going to fall. But never delude yourself into believing that your fall won't destroy you. You have to tell yourself that you can get back up. You have to tell yourself that God will always forgive, and God will always work with you. But you cannot tell yourself it's not that big of a deal. You can't. The wisdom of the serpent is in it's not that deep. The wisdom of the serpent is don't worry. You'll figure it out. No. But it says that we were trapped by the wisdom of the serpent. We were set free by the recklessness of God. God is not reckless the way that man is reckless. But the chance that God takes on us to give us absolute free will, the ability to elect to choose him every day, this is what most people would call reckless. You ever hear about parents that are permissive? You let your kid do what? And your kid does what? Oh my gosh. Oh, no. You can't. You can't. Why? I always tell parents there's two types of behaviors in parenting. There is life-enhancing behavior and life-threatening behavior. You stop life-threatening behavior. If my son Isaac, who I mentioned in the sermon, wants to climb on a balcony on the 7th floor of a hotel, no, I'm yanking him down and getting my ship and never doing anything, because that would never happen, but telling him to wear it with us. Right? I have to protect him, because this is destruction. But if he's jumping on a pew, okay, you have a choice. Life-enhancing or life-threatening. You're life-enhancing, or you don't want your life enhanced. You want to fall? Okay. The 5-minute owie, not happy, likely get a timeout, we'll move on. God is that parent that understands what's life-threatening and life-enhancing. God doesn't force you to enhance your life. He doesn't force you to choose righteousness. He just tells you, it would be better if you did. You would find more peace if you did. You're always angry. You're always stressed. You're constantly thinking about what you're not doing. Wouldn't it be better if you didn't? Wouldn't it be more peaceful if you didn't? And he's telling you, life enhancing. Let's enhance our lives. Let's enhance our lives by talking with him. Let's enhance our lives by partaking of him. Let's enhance our lives by living for him. We are set free by this recklessness. Do you know why? Because when you choose God, it is your choice. The best thing about being this age is your faith is no longer your parents' faith. Your faith is yours. You can ask any of the people in here who have lived life a little bit longer than y'all have. That's code for us being wise, not old. Right? Right, peeps? Yeah? But all of us have experienced those moments where God became our God. It was no longer mom's God, dad's God, because we chose our father of confession, because we opened the Bible on our terms, because we were vulnerable with God in prayer. We chose a fast for us. Those are the most transformational moments in your life. And that, he said, as Augustine says, that recklessness sets us free, because then we feel like, no, I'm living for you because I want to. It is my free will and my choice to experience your peace, my free will and my choice to experience your hope, to look at the choices I'm making that separate me from your love and say, I don't want them anymore. If you're looking for loopholes, if you're looking for nuance to justify your choices, you will always find it. But what you won't find is the satisfaction that you think comes from an unhealthy relationship. The satisfaction that you think comes from self-gratification. The comfort that comes from quote-unquote self-care. All the things that we deceive ourselves and delude ourselves into doing. These things, they tip the scales towards suffering. But on the inverse, God is telling us, when you choose me, you will find a peace you have never known. You will find a hope you have never experienced. You will realize that living for me, there is security. You know, someone said to me last night, actually, Abuna, you know, the last time I had a chance to be in a relationship, I said no. And I didn't do it because I knew it would please God. And I'm so mad about that choice. I'm so mad that I did it. The next time I get a chance, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be in the relationship. Okay, why? Because I need to experience it. I can be in control. I can protect myself. I can handle this. By the way, magical words of knowing you cannot handle something is saying, I've got this. I can handle it. That is the number one way you know that you are not equipped for what you're dealing with. Okay? So we're sitting together and we're talking. And I asked him, I said, what did you think you lost? What did you think you lost in this moment by not pursuing this relationship? Well, I didn't make my own choice. I'm like, you didn't? Well, I made it for God. Okay, so what was the suffering? So the suffering is overthinking, wondering what if. Okay? What's the suffering on the other side? I was like, what do you mean? I was like, have you ever had your heart broken? No. Okay. Tell me what it's like to get your heart broken. Oh, I just told you. I was like, exactly. To get your heart broken where you don't want to eat, you don't want to see anyone. The idea of studying doesn't make any sense. You question everything you've ever done. You replay every miserable moment 1,000 times. But you're telling me that that's a life-enhancing choice? Next time you're going to take that shot? When you separate yourself from the love of God because you want to take things for yourself, you are being ensnared by the wisdom of the serpent. The serpent is deceiving you to question yourself and to question your choices. Freedom is from the recklessness of God giving us that agency. The peace that you find in freedom is different. Okay, I'll ask you guys another question. When you think to yourself, I'm going to give my life to God. I'm going to start living for Him. Tell me some of the things that you think you lose. What are some of the things that you think you lose? Yeah? People. Tell me more about that.
Just like friends who will like edify you.
Yep. So, when you decide to live for God, then you choose friends that live for God. And that maybe changes the scope of some of your friendships. Okay? What else do you lose?
Money and personal belongings.
Potentially. Okay? Tell me why.
Well, if you live your life for God, you don't care as much about making money or any of the earthly possessions that you have. You know, you might use that for other stuff, or you might just not pursue that in the first place.
Okay. I would challenge that living for God doesn't mean being unmotivated. What else? What do you think you lose?
Sometimes like comfort.
Like that? What do you mean by that?
Well, like in your sermon today, like talking about like carrying your cross. It might not always be comfortable. Sometimes you have to face.
Okay, you're on the right track, but what difficult things do you face when you give up your comfort? You lose control of that. You don't feel like you're in control of everything in your life.
You have conflict with your inner self, like with desires.
Internal turmoil, yeah. Now you're wrestling against the spirit or against the flesh. What else? What else do you think you lose?
Motivation in yourself.
Sometimes motivation, you can feel hopeless. All of this is true. You will feel these things when you begin to walk toward God. Because the devil needs to scare you enough to make you think that this choice isn't wise. His goal is to create enough fear and doubt in you, in trusting in God's love and mercy, that you won't do it and you won't stick to it. Everybody has a God moment, okay? A moment when God gives you the courage to try something brave, put something down, leave something behind, and grow up a little. But that's a moment. The only way that moment becomes your master is the repetitiveness of that moment. You are not set free with one key. It's one key, walking out of one cell, walking out of one jail, walking as far as you can from that prison. It's one foot in front of the other every day. That takes courage, like we talked about today. These are all things that you think you're going to lose. And the things that you think you will lose, the things that you think you will lose, I'll ask you a different question. You think God fills the void? Who says yes? God fills the void. Raise your hand if you think God fills the void when you leave things behind for him. You know why I love these? Like, I love that it's only half hands. Like, even the people that raised their hand didn't put them all the way out. Because you only half buy it. You only half buy it. Why do you think that is? Because you don't fully believe that God's going to fill that void. Why do you not believe it?
Maybe I haven't like fully experienced it yet.
Haven't experienced it.
Yeah.
You know why you haven't experienced it? The reason you haven't experienced it is you have told God what will satisfy you. You have told God what will make you happy. You have told God that you know what is best for you. There could be no greater lie that the devil has placed in your heart. You cannot tell God, I know this relationship is what I need. I know this school is what I need. I know my parent being this way is what I need. You don't. We don't. As parents, we don't know that our parenting is perfect. We don't know that the way we deal with our spouse is perfect. We don't. We do the best we can with the information that we have, and then we say, Lord, let your will be my will. Take from me what is yours and leave for me what is mine. Give me clarity. Give me trust that if I take these steps toward you and for you, that what you put in my life is what I need. I remember one person who was so upset about a relationship that didn't work, and he was crying about it, and he was so devastated. She was the one, she was the one, she was the one. And it was like a whole year of mopiness and misery and all this stuff, right? Because that's what happens. This was years ago. I was living in another state when he was telling me this. And he said, I don't think there's anybody else for me. There's nobody else for me. I'll never get married now. This guy's 24 years old. Are you freaking kidding me? It's like, what was I saying? When he finally started giving God more of his time, spending time with God. You know who he married? He married his best friend of 7 years that had been there all the time. A good girlfriend who was just around, who loved God the way he loved God and cared for him the way that he needed to be cared for. She'd always liked him. But he never knew, because he was too busy reaching for a bunch of things he thought he wanted. But someone who was praying for God's will, and that's what she was doing, was waiting for the moment. And one day his eyes opened. He was so sure he knew what he needed and kept reaching for it, when what he needed had been there the whole time. They are happily married, 4 kids, beautiful, beautiful family. There are tons of stories like this. People who say it has to be this school. It has to be this group of friends. It has to be this event. It has to be this. The words "it has to be" are the words of the wisdom of the serpent. The words "I'd like it to be, but I trust in what you intend for it to be" are the freedom associated with the recklessness of God's love. The cross of putting your trust in him, the cross of leaning on God's understanding and telling him, Lord, I don't know what you want for me. I know what I want for me. But if what I want isn't what I need, give me eyes to see what I need. And give me courage to pursue what I need. And the funny thing is, if you pursue God, who is absolutely, we can all agree, who we need, then all the things that God wants for us are on that road. I don't know about anybody else here, but when I chart my own life and the places God put me and took me and did things with me in, I would have never scripted it. If you told me, an 18-year-old dude in New York, that I was going to end up on the West Coast as a priest, married to the most amazing human being in the world, etc., 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 I would have told you you're crazy. Least of all, that she would never even look at me. Right? Number 2, are you kidding? This thing? But God's funny. And the more that you can put your life in his hands, the more that you can say, Lord, I trust you that I will go where you call, the more you will see beauty in your life. Make righteous choices. Make choices that are meant to honor him first. That's it. I tell my sons and daughters in confession, there's no such thing as right and wrong. There's God and not God choices. That's it. Choices you make to honor God, choices you make to dishonor him. Choices where you include him, choices where you exclude him. When you make God choices in your life, bio or psych, medicine or law, this person or being single, all of these things, they're God choices. And if you're pursuing them with God on your heart, wherever you land, God will use it. Trust him, because you are reaching for him. The wisdom of the serpent is to get the perfect answer, to harp on every word and every nuance, and pollute, want, and need to be the same thing. But to trust in the freedom that God has given you is to say, Lord, I'm free enough to know I don't know what I need. I'm free enough to know what I want. But I'm free enough to be courageous to tell you, you need to tell me what I need. Lead me where you need me. Lead me where you need me. Glory be to God forever and ever. Amen. Questions, comments, concerns?